Hey, welcome to WAP, Wealth, Assets, and Prosperity, where we are helping you get to the wealth, the assets, and the prosperity for your life and your business. My name is Jacqui Vazquez, Coach Jacqui, if you will, and we are here on Brownstone Worldwide KCCR Radio. I'm excited. I have somebody very special that I get to introduce you guys to, and you are going to love him just as much as I do. When I met Dr. Dan, I'm going to tell you, he blew my wig off with his smile and his sweet nature. But not only that, Dr. Dan is so many phenomenal things. Dr. Dan Fields is a doctor of Chinese medicine, the founder of Organic Wellness. Oh, I hope I said that right. And Quiup Academy, based in California Bay Area. And you know, it's funny because when I met Dr. Dan, he was like, he asked me, where you from? I said, the Bay. He said, me too. I almost fell out like, wait, sir, I don't know you. Okay. He helps his patients naturally and holistically overcome their health and wellness challenges by combining Eastern and Western approaches to I'm going to get this together. Cellular regeneration. Dr. Dan is all about making the wellness journey fun and engaging. He specializes in Chinese medicine education and how to practically apply it through virtual and in-person self-care, self-defense training, online courses, consultations, and clinical treatments. Woo! Now you can already tell Dr. Dan is a bad mamma jamma. Dr. Dan holds a doctoral in acupuncture and Chinese medicine, DACM, from the Pacific College of Health and Sciences, San Diego, and a master's of science in traditional Chinese medicine from the Academy of Chinese Culture, Health, and Sciences in Oakland, California. He is also certified expert in Tuna medicine, massage, and medical cannabis. I'm excited to talk to you about that, Dr. Dan. A medical, I hope I'm saying this right, Qigong instructor and a public speaker. Dr. Dan has worked within his local community and beyond. He has partnered with professional athletes, four-star Forbes facilities, combat arts gyms, local clinics, and organizations seeking wellness and senior populations. This is amazing. You'll typically find Dr. Dan with a group of friends laughing, getting tea drunk on, on artisan age teas. That's hilarious. Or under a tree nose deep in an eclectic paperback found at the secondhand bookstore. I know that's right. When it comes to wellness, if anyone can, oh no, Dr. Dan can. Connect with Dr. Dan on Instagram and YouTube at Dr. Dan Can, or reach out to his website organic.com to learn new ways of naturally enhancing your life. All right, Dr. Dan, that is quite the bio. I am obsessed. Let's bring Dr. Dan up here with us. Hello, my friend. And how are you? I gotta put my phone on do not disturb, sir. Lord have mercy. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Yeah. It's a Qigong.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I know.
What else did I say wrong?
No, it's okay. It's these are new things. These are new concepts. It's not about right or wrong. It's about a new introduction. And so the other one is Tui Na massage. And these are, of course, these are Chinese words that have longer definitions in English, right? Because it's a concept. And so Tui just means brush, Na means grab. And so it's muscle and tendon manipulation. And it is the precursor to something called bone setting. And bone setting is where chiropractic comes from. So this is, it's like the precursor to chiro. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Wow. So way to just blow my wig off when we first get on the stage, Dr. Dan. I'm loving it. I'm so excited that you are here with me today because I know people are like, okay, so Dr. Dan, Chinese medicine, what we talking? And so today we're talking about how your health is your wealth, how your health is your wealth. And I really want us to dive in and really have a conversation about you and how you help people with their health in different ways that, you know, we can, or maybe even helping us figure out how we can help with our own. So you do a lot with Chinese medicine. What do you find that the people that you work with benefit from the most?
I would say the education outside of the treatments, because I use digital tools to show people the inside of their body, rather it be their muscles, their bones, or even their organs. And when they have that visual representation in a three-dimensional space and we're moving things around and talking about ranges of motion and making it practical, saying like, do you recognize this posture? Is this a posture that you keep yourself in? You see which muscles are highlighted in the app? Those are the muscles that are engaged, and that is what tension is for you. That's your fascia locking up. And it's the aha moments is what brings them back. You
Right.
know,
I love that. I love that. When I first met you, there was this thing that you were doing where everybody was like, I got this pain right here. And Dr. Dan just don't go to where the pain at. He will go and touch an ankle and maybe even a wrist. And all of a sudden, all the pain, you just you laying there, just stress just gone. What is it that you are doing that you're helping us relieve the tension in our body?
That's a good question. So, if you think about leverage and a pulley, if you wanted to lift a big rock and you wrap it up with rope and pull it over something, you would have people pull in the opposite direction of where you want it to go, right? You pull away to lift it up. And so, like, even with my t-shirt, like if I pull on a corner, you'll see the tension is in my neck, but the source is down here. So the opposite, where there's pain, you go to the opposite place to relieve that tension versus like trying to rub out this shirt. Like, we can put this in a medical context. So I have it down like this and I say I have chronic neck pain, right? A surgeon may say we can cut a few things in here. You may not be able to shrug your left shoulder as high as you used to, but you won't have the pain, right? It's a trade-off. And then maybe a PT says, well, we're going to do exercises to strengthen the muscle around the tension so that it's less tense, your body can support the tension. And then Chinese medicine says, well, why not just release the tension below, you know? And it's thousands of years old. And there's a reason why it's that old. They never stopped using it because it never stopped working. And yeah, I almost got into technology, right?
You
I
said you
almost
almost
got
got into what?
tech. Like, I wanted to get into animation because I enjoy the arts and how you can combine sounds and pictures and images and make these stories and tell people creative stories with visual representation, right? And so I thought, wow, that'd be fun. But I didn't like how you get new computers every so often, new software updates, unlearning of skill sets, new generations having automations on skill sets that you had to develop that now are blowing you out the water later down the line. I was like, give me something with legacy, something that I get better at over time. And no matter where I go, I am functional and can be of service.
I love that. I love that. So, not to be this person, because you just basically answered what my next question was going to be, because not too often do you see a brother in Chinese medicine. You know what I'm saying? How often are people like Chinese medicine and give you this crazy look like, what? Do you get that a lot, Dr. Dan?
Oh, most definitely. I think my favorite is like when people are telling their friends about it, they assume me to be some little Chinese man. And then and then they meet me and they're like,
I actually really love that, Dr. Dan, that wow effect. You know what I mean? So I am obsessed with everything that you do. When it comes to Chinese medicine, because you incorporate the massage, like you have a lot of stuff. What is your academy? Can you tell us a little bit about your academy?
Almost definitely. So Chi-Up Academy is many things. And I would say that it's a tool for preserving legacy. Um, the whole reason that I am a doctor of Chinese medicine came from one simple question asked by my uncle who taught me Qigong and Tai Chi Chuan or Tai Chi back in 2007. And it took about 5 years of training for him to ask me, like, what is Qi? And I was like, I don't know, it is. And he's like, why don't you explore where this concept of chi comes from, and it might improve your training because you're really good at holding postures in your martial arts and you're not connecting with this source called chi. So I took offense and I had to do some research. At that time, I was, born and raised in the hyphy movement. So it was all about, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? Whatever, bro. Blah, 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 blah. And I was just like in the mix and in people's face. So, if I didn't get what I wanted in that moment, then I was going to act up a little, right?
Yes.
So, and it didn't get me far because he knew how to manage me. And my Sifu was a black man. So I learned these Chinese arts from a man who speaks fluent Cantonese and Korean. He's like very cultured. And this guy would challenge me and put me through my paces. And so the only place that I could find an accurate answer to what is qi was an acupuncture school. And I hate needles. So imagine, I'm like, oh, I got to be around the one thing that I've always avoided in order to get a complete answer to this question that will improve my qi going. That one question led me on a 16-year journey. So Chi-Up Academy is an accumulation of that training and answering that question for people, because I want to help people have a better grasp of this concept. What is Qi? Without having to go through all the rigorous education of becoming an acupuncturist. So my boy Steve Gaines, or Zumbi, as he's better known on stage, he was my Kung Fu brother. And we would train at Wudong West, and we would go out to the forest and have fun, bring his kids, and we had this idea of, he would always say, hey, bro, I'm about to go Chi up now, I'll meet up with you. It's like, all right. And he was, and 2 days before I walked the stage for my master's, he was murdered in Berkeley at the hospital in some altercation with security. He was seeking medical support and help in a time of crisis, and that's what he received. The Berkeley police showed up, and he was already deceased when they got there. And he didn't go in there in a state of crisis where his health was in that much jeopardy.
Going in there dying.
Yeah. And it was deemed a homicide, and there's no investigation. So that it's hurtful, especially for somebody who put out so much good into the hip hop world and into his community outside of his profession. And, I knew him as Steve. That was my Kung Fu brother, my confidant. And so this is also an ode to him, is because he was on that same journey. He wanted to help people understand this concept of Qi. And fortunately, I did the grueling work of going through a master's program without a bachelor's. I went with a high school diploma and community college units. Yeah.
So, I told y'all Dr. Dan's a bad mamma jamma. Okay, so I love everything you just said. And so when it comes to Qi, what would Qi be most directly like? How can people understand Qi just from you, like explaining it right now, right? Like, because when I'm thinking Qi, I'm thinking like a centeredness, like a source within you. Like, I don't know, I could be way off. So can you give me like a little bit of what does that really mean?
Yeah, I would say that you're actually spot on. You're talking about the benefits of connecting with Qi. You're talking about the results of having a relationship with it. So have you heard of yin and yang?
Yin and yang? No, what is this?
Okay, so yin and yang is like light and dark. It can be magnetism, electricity. It's opposing and interdependent forces, right? And yin and yang, when they have a relationship and one is not dominating the other, they both are working synergistically. They have a child, which is Qi. And so like poetically, you can put it out there as like Qi is this sentient being that glues everything together. And it's aware of itself and it's aware of you, but at the same time needs to be nurtured and cared for, or it goes elsewhere. And so in our bodies, we are given a little bit of our mom and dad's Qi in its condensed form. And that's what represents our life, the relationship of these 5 elements and this life force. And so I sometimes tell kids because we work with kids, at Chi-Up Academy is actually a dojo. We have like from 5 years old and up. And we tell them it's like a chia pet. It's like something that you have to water and care for and tend to. And you'll notice that it can act, it starts off like an animal. And you kind of have to be like, no, sit, heel, come. Good, here's a treat. And then eventually it starts acting more like a child and has its own thinking. And that's intuition. And then eventually it can be a young adult. And that's like a wisdom and a knowing. And that's like And this is where we start getting into the woo woo, where it's like clairsentience, clairvoyance,
I
because
love
it's
the woo woo.
right. So now that's like, when they talk about like with spirit, spirit is also a form of chi, and chi's ability to house the mind and consciousness and ambitions and drive, and then also to communicate with the universe. It's the strings that connect you to higher sources.
Ah,
So so many things. It's like a word like color. It's like,
yes. It's
it
so many
generalizes
things.
all the things.
I was just about to say, I think Esther Hicks refers to it as the vortex, right?
Yeah.
It's like this balance, because I've been talking about this a lot recently, Dr. Dan. I love what you're doing, by the way. I think this is phenomenal. See, this is why y'all, me and Dr. Dan hit it off. We just started talking and we went from the hyphy movement in our conversation all the way to medical cannabis. Like it just was like this whole, we just talked about it all. And so this is why I love this conversation. But I was just talking to somebody recently how we always look at the bad things that are happening to us as so bad. Oh, that's so terrible. But I really feel like what you're saying, it's like that what did you say it called? Yin and yang?
Yeah, yin and yang.
Yin and yang. It's like the yin and yang. It's like you're it's the balance, the things that, the things that the bad things that are happening to you go hand in hand with the good. Because and the way Esther Heck explains it is like this. You got to know what you don't want to know what you want. And you don't know what you don't want till you go with what you don't want, and then you know what you really want, right? Like we
Yep.
can go through life and all these experiences and look at them as terrible, or we can nurture them all and experience them as something beautiful, elevating us, taking us to the next level, and having a good time. Now I can say this, in the midst of no drama, or I can say this in the midst of drama, but when I'm in the midst of drama, I say it through my teeth. This is something good. Even though I truly sometimes don't really feel like that. But so I love what you're doing, and I love the whole martial arts piece. What has martial arts done for you, for your body, for your mind, for your soul? Like, what has it done for you? Because speaking of the conversation of health is wealth, martial arts is a beautiful way to really, I feel like, help your health. So what has martial arts done for you, or would you recommend other people to do martial arts? I know that's a twofold question, but kind of curious.
Yeah. Well, I would say that martial arts, the biggest takeaway from martial arts is discipline and commitment, because you don't have martial arts without repetition. And it's something you have to get used to doing the same stuff every time. And that's kind of like life, right? Like you have to cook meals every day. You have to put gas in your car every so often. You have to wash your car. You got to wash your body. You got to groom yourself. And these are repetitive things that always happen. And when you neglect it, it doesn't work for you and it
Right.
becomes a burden. And so when a person uses it as aerobics and they are not connected with their body, then it can become a burden and they are prone to injury, versus connecting with their discipline and looking at how their body moves in space and connecting with their limbs and their spirit. And like you said, knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. And that also is humility, because you can walk up on somebody because you're having a bad day and they cut you in line and you don't know why they're cutting you in line. And your humility should say, I don't know why this person's being audacious, and it's not my job to find out. Because, I think there's a scale. It's like if you mess around, how much you mess around and how much time it will let you know how you'll find out, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't want to mess around and that's what martial arts does. It's not about the fight. It's actually about what we call the safe protocol. It's about
Mm,
surveying your environment, avoiding conflict, fleeing from dangerous situations and escaping from them. But if you can't escape, then you engage. And if you're going to engage, you're going to close. And so we tell people, like, you know, old school would say you need to hit people with bad intent. That's old school. New school means you got to hit people like you mean it. Like you can't
mm,
like kind of hit them. Like if you're gonna engage with somebody, you better do it right. And the reason being, you have to you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy and leave them available to come after you and learn you and escalate the situation.
that is huge. That is huge. And actually, when you were referring to it like life, I want to say, as far as martial arts goes, very like if you handle martial arts and you handle your business the way you handle your martial arts, you will be successful. right? So
Absolutely.
it's twofold, because if you are consistent in your business, if you're showing up, doing things like not just doing it to just be doing it, not just to be going through the, but to actually intentionally be doing it, you will be successful in your business and in your life. And I love the fact that martial arts teaches that discipline. I love that. And then, like you were saying, people do get into martial arts to what, say, lose weight sometimes, to work out.
Well, I used to be 100 pounds heavier. You wouldn't know that.
Ah.
But one of the things was, at first, when I was heavier, I would look for a zipper. I was like, I got to get out of
Mm.
this fat suit. I hate the way I look. But guess what? That
Mm.
mentality, that
Mhm.
mindset is what was putting pounds on my body,
Yes.
because the very system that produces fat in the body is the same system that produces emotions. And so when I would get
Mm.
emotional about how I looked, I was gaining a pound of shame, 5 pounds of resentment, 6 pounds of self hate. And so it took me having to figure out, if I had a different body, what would I do with it? And that is what kept the weight off, because I am now living a lifestyle that is more satisfying and rewarding. And so food no longer becomes a burden, because my endocrine system is complete. It's cared for. So I always drink clean water. I always make sure that, like, even if I have to eat fast food, I show gratitude. If somebody's religious, they can pray over their food. If they're not religious, they need to do a form of gratitude. Sit there and say, I'm grateful for this meal. I'm so happy that I am able to consume this. I couldn't find anything else that would be as satisfying. And today we will become one, because what we eat is what we become. And how we feel about it is what our world will reflect back to us. So I had to change all that. And the hyphy movement put me in that, like, whatever, bro, blah, blah, blah. But that's how I felt about me too.
Right.
Whatever. I don't care. Ooh, whatever. It's whatever. Call it titties if you want. Like, I don't care. Whatever. I'm gonna be a funny guy. I'm the funny fat guy. And I'm gonna be aggressive. I'm gonna try to, like, punk you down. But the reality is, when my uncle brought me to this dojo, which is full circle, I said 16 years. In Chinese theory, 8 years is the yang cycle, and 7 years is the yin cycle. And they equate the yang being, male bodied and female bodied, right? And I had 2 cycles. The first cycle was getting into this dojo, and these guys mean business. The style of martial arts is based on street fighting. It's not for competition. It's
Mm.
for self-defense. So these guys are hitting hard, and they're just as aggressive, but they're calculated and they're cold because they hit with bad intent. They're old school. So, now I'm intimidated, thinking that I'm a bad guy. So this is where the humility came in, and then having to stay still and be with myself. That's what Qigong provides. It's the relationship between breathing, stillness, and movement. So once you feel your heart rate, you coordinate your breathing with your heart rate and stillness. Once you don't have to think about that, then you slowly start to move. And then all of a sudden, you can slowly start to speed up the movement, and your breathing, your heart rate doesn't increase, because you're used to coordinating your breathing with your heart rate. And so this is called internal martial arts, versus like punching through a brick. That's external. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
internal martial arts is discipline, external is like defense.
Dr. Dan, you are so, I feel like I'm just opening up a little this is gonna show my age, encyclopedia. And I am just blown away. I really want to go back to this eating thing and how you're talking to yourself thing. So, a lot of people, when it comes to weight, we do give ourselves a really hard time. We beat ourselves up. We look in the mirror, we don't like what we see. And we're talking really harsh to ourselves. I literally have, I'm not going to put her out there, but I know somebody who talks very terrible about herself when it comes to weight. And it's always, I can never lose it. It's never going away. I'm always going to be a big fat piggy. And every time I'm in the kitchen, I always got to pick something up and eat it. How do you recommend or talk to a person like that and recommend to them, like, where do they start talking nicer to themselves? And I also like the whole gratitude piece with the food. So, how do you get them started on understanding that this thought process is gaining the weight? Because you just gave a whole scientific reason why. So how do you get them to understand I need to talk nicer to myself?
Well, I mean, it starts in conversation. Like a lot of the time, they need to be in a non-judgmental environment. They need to express that to somebody and then have somebody ask them an intelligent question. And by intelligent, I'm not saying that there's unintelligent questions, but what I mean is like a pointed question. So like if somebody were around me and they said something like, I'll always be a big fat piggy, I would say like, well, since you believe you'd be a piggy, what are you going to do as a pig?
Ooh, damn.
What would you do? Like, if that's what you want to be, then what are you going to be? Like, what are you going to do as this pig? Like, are you going to become like a Muppet and like get out in entertainment and like show it off? Or are you going to like hide in the mud? What kind of pig are you then?
This is so deep.
Are you a boar? Are you a wild pig? Are you domesticated? You know, hold people accountable for what they say and show interest, because then they're gonna feel stupid. They're gonna be like, well, I don't really, and it's like, well, that's all right. That's all right. We can circle back on it, because what I see somebody who's looking to do something and you're being restricted by your weight. What is it that you're looking to do? Because I bet a pig can outrun you right now. You want to run around? Because pigs are very active and they're intelligent. There's nothing wrong with being a pig. Why do you say it as an
I am like, y'all don't understand. I'm sitting here like, okay, Dr. Dan, that was an amazing reframe. I'm obsessed. We are here on Brownstone Media Worldwide, KCCR Radio, with my man, Dr. Dan. And he is literally at Dr. Dan Can. And he is literally sitting here giving us all the goods and all the jujus on how your health really, he's giving it how it can be your wealth. And this whole mindset piece, I love what you were talking about when it came to the food and praying over the food, right? Or just speaking, why is that so powerful? Why is that a powerful thing that you can do before you say eat some fast food or something that you may technically feel maybe a little guilty about? Why does that change in energy help with that process?
That's great. So every one of us looks solid, but we're not. We are made up of trillions of little cells, trillions of them. And every single one of them is aware of itself, just as we're aware of ourselves. They have a lifespan and they die. They are born and they die. And so they are interconnected with all the cells in our body that make us up. And our mind is the captain of all of that. Now, another way of looking at that is a democratic republic, right? So we have a republic. The cells have voted that this mind that we have, the conscious mind, is going to be the controller. And that is the democracy is the cell saying like, I crave this, I want that. But this is our body's way of communicating. And so when we have food, it's going to be broken down into little bits and pieces and eventually be feeding these trillions of cells. So think of it kind of like, if you look at this sandwich and you're like, you suck. You eat it, all your cells are like, yeah, you suck. Because like in Kung Fu, we say what a teacher likes, his students love. What a teacher dislikes, his students hate or detest. And that's dangerous, because if you have this one thing that you kind of feel a type of way about and you eat it, your cells are going to really not like it. And so they're going to bully that food all the way down the pipe. And the food that we eat, it goes through us. It is not of us. And what is retained becomes of us. And so imagine what those bits and pieces, because like whatever you ate had a life before it became your food. So there is sentient consciousness still in it. And so its experience becoming part of you is you bullying it before it can become part of you. So now that part of you is the resentment. That's where it came from. It was how you talk to your food. It's like your kid. So what if you're in a bad mood? You go off on your kid, it's going to really amplify inside of them. Even if you go back and say, I'm sorry, they still will not forget. They may forgive, but they will not forget.
Dr. Dan, you're going to have me talking sweet to all my food. Oh my God. Like, I'm just sitting sitting here tripping out because when you really think about it, yes, all your cells, everything is operating together. That's why I tell people to talk nice to yourself, because when you hold your throat, that vibration is going through your whole body. Your body feels it. But I'm not even tripping off of the cells piece of it, because science had always been that. Ooh, that's ooh but when you think about the cells in your body, without even having to really realize, let's be scientific, but the cells in your body are real, whether you realize it or not. And so when you are talking nice to this food, oh, and then the life and the consciousness that it had before you, ooh, this is deep. This is deep, Dr. Dan. So I am like, whoo, I'm sitting here tripping right now. So I am loving this conversation completely, wholly, and fully. Can you tell me a little bit about Organic, your website? What can
Yeah.
people find there? How do they, because like I said, this is just so good. And I know people are going to be like, how do I get a hold of Dr. Dan? How can I work with my man? What can we find on Organic?
Well, Organic, you'll find information on what is Qigong, about the different services around Chinese medicine, our online consultations. You can read up on Chi Up Academy and even check out some of these Dr. Dan approved products and the things that I use in my clinic. And these are the things, like the term Organic comes from the fact that I'm a Black man in Chinese medicine. Imagine what my education experience was like. The majority of my the classmates were not like me. And so me being inquisitive and curious meant that now I'm disruptive, right? Like, and this was my experience even in public school, right? Just being an energetic, but like if I had grown up in this day and age, they would have tried to put me on pills for ADHD.
Oh,
But
definitely.
all they needed was martial arts. They needed mentorship. They needed adults regularly in their life. And so Organic comes from that culture of like, no, I'm not going to back down. Like, or can I use natural medicine to overcome my own injuries, to lose my own weight without your interventions? Because your interventions are costing me. My insurance is being charged and I get nothing from it. You
Yes.
get paid and I get nothing. I feel useless. I can't help myself.
Yes. Oh, I'm obsessed. What are some of these Dr. Dan approved products? Shoot, I want to know. I'm nosy.
Yeah, well, I would say the glue of my practice would be the ionizers. I got introduced 10 years ago to cleaner water. And during that time, I was in my recovery phase of like having to flush out the hyphae movement from my body, all the different experiences. I had locks at the time, and they had been through a whole bunch of stuff. All of this was still on me. And so our bodies are primarily water. And so many people focus on food for weight loss. But if you're 60% water, by focusing on the other 40%, that means that you're leaving the majority of your opportunities on the table. And so the water is the number one thing, and that would be the ionizers. That is the number one. Like, just talk with me in a consultation more about it, because there's science behind it and it comes with a lifestyle. It's an investment and they last forever. So that's my top. And then of course the medical cannabis, we use hemp derived products, so they're federally okay. It's just the same as getting like olive oil or corn. Like these things, although it's in the cannabis family, it has more medical properties and it's non-psychoactive. So that means like you keep your clarity, you got your wits. So we do consultations on that too. So, chat with me about it. I would love to educate y'all and give you resources and help you get like approved products, things that are not available anywhere else. You have to know somebody to get the stuff that I have.
All right. I know that's right. Shoot, talk about exclusive. Uh-huh. I love that. So Dr. Dan then phased into part of the conversation that I really wanted to talk about, the medical cannabis portion of it. I am obsessed when it comes to knowing more and educating myself, but you're talking about the hemp. And it's funny because thousands of years ago, that was something that was grown and heavily used, was hemp products. They were using it for everything from clothes to, lotions and different products. We're just starting to get back to that now, which I feel like is a part of that whole Chinese medicine portion of it. We're just starting to get back to it. Not that hemp is a part of Chinese medicine. I'm just saying it's
Oh, it
kind of
is. It
thing.
is.
Oh, it is. Okay, good. I was like, oh, don't call, don't. Oh, I need to be on it. But I love that. And so, what are different ways that people can use? Like, is CBD the same as hemp? Like, I know people have questions, but like, what are different ways that people can use hemp for themselves now. And then I'm asking about CBD too, because I love using CBD to help me like sleep. So like, what are the different ways that people can use hemp now that will help them, with life?
Oh, okay. So, in order for me to answer that, I'm just going to lay down some groundwork, some foundations that I'll be working from. So, the first thing is our body has a master controller in our nervous system called the endocannabinoid system. And there are two receptors, CB1 and CB2 receptors. So, our bodies naturally need cannabis. So, like, think about sailors back in the day who would get scurvy. The reason they had it was because they lacked citrus fruit, right? They didn't
Mm.
have something in their diet. And so now science is starting to find that because cannabis has been outlawed for so long, some of the medical conditions out there, like fibromyalgia and many others, are due to the endocannabinoid system being deficient. And so they categorize in the plant kingdom cannabis sativa and cannabis indica. And many people think like indica sativa is like body high, mind high. But what they're actually describing are terpenoids. And terpenes is the other part. So you have cannabinoids and terpenes. Terpenes are found in all plants. So like linalool is what gives lavender its scent, but it's also what gives the therapeutic effect of granddaddy purple. And so
Oh.
you also, yeah, right. And then like if you think of like limonene, which is the citrus zest that you're familiar with in the lemon, is also in something like sweet tooth or headband,
Mm.
which is a sativa and gives you mental clarity. And so, like
Mm.
these terpene mixes with the cannabinoids like CBD, THC, and other molecules like CBN, CBG. CBG is cannabigerol, and CBG is 3 times stronger than CBD for physical pain, and it's antibacterial, antimicrobial. So, I had dental surgery and I had stitches in my gum. And instead of using the medication that they recommended, I just used CBG. And when it came time to taking out the stitches, they said that they have never seen the cuts be so clean, no bacteria, no inflammation, and I had no pain. I started using it the moment that the numbing agent started to go away. I would just, it's a spray, you know? So it's low effort. It's very low lift. And yeah, CBG, I swear by it. CBN puts you to sleep. CBC clears up acne and also triggers in our brain adenamine. Adenamine is the molecule that tells your brain to make endorphins. So for people who have like melancholy or they get like depression during like their cycle, CBC is a clear way to keep that in check. THCV is another one for focus, mental clarity, weight loss. It's like it suppresses your appetite and helps increase your metabolism.
Clutch and
These are,
pearl.
I know, I'm telling you, like these cannabinoids, they be doing their thing,
You
and they
know
don't get you high, so you can
Right.
use it and be a male person and
Yes.
not worry about them testing you. Even with a random drug test, they're testing for the delta 9 molecule
Yeah.
for C. So
THC. Yeah.
if that's not present, then you're good.
Yes. CBD, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people get it misconstrued. They think that CBD is part of cannabis, which is THC. Like it's totally different. And I love how you just broke that down, Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan
Oh yeah.
can, man, I swear. So that's the thing. You have to remember that, you know, what a lot of people are failing to remember or even realize or acknowledge is that there is a cannabinoid system within your body, just like all the other systems. That one exists, but I had no idea the fibromyalgia. Like that makes a lot of sense, and they end up being in a lot of pain. And I actually know a lot of people that have fibromyalgia that use, cannabis now because they're noticing that the medications aren't doing anything and they'll use it to help them. So I absolutely love that. And I thank you for that CBD breakdown. Like, what?
Oh, and there's one other thing. You had asked about Chinese medicine. And
Yeah.
so, to help clarify and drive home this idea of THC, CBD, they are a yin and yang to each other. So, hemp being the male plant, that would be the yang. So, CBD is yang and THC is yin. And the other way to think about it, like yin and yang, like the male plant is yang. That means you can go out and keep doing stuff. The
Yeah.
female plant is yin. It's going to keep you in place.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Why
that
are you
THC.
so good?
Gift the gab, baby. Gift the gab.
So good. I love this. Okay, so whew, you just got me all up in my feels, Dr. Dan, I swear. So I just wanted to bring this all home. So when everyone, when it comes to our health and it comes to our wealth, right? And really, when I think about health, I think about prosperity, because in order to be prosperous, the longevity of your life has everything to do with, your body. If it's breaking down, you can't do much, right?
Mhm.
So when it comes to eating, I went out to eat with you and we were talking about water. And so this is for whoever's like me. Dr. Dan is going to give us a quick little lesson on some water here. I love lots of ice and hella cold ass water. And Dr. Dan was like, no cold water. So why do you recommend people not drink cold ass water? I mean, it still hurts my feelings, but please let us know.
Well, I mean, it puts a strain on our digestive tract. Like, okay, think about frying food. What happens if you put too many pieces, too many articles in the oil, and you're trying to fry foods? It will it ruins the outside. You won't get the crisp that you're looking for because it changes the temperature of the oil. And so, like in our stomach, we have acids in there. And so when you drink this cold ass water, it will slow down your metabolism. I mean, when you drink cold water, it will slow down your metabolism and it slows down your digestive tract. Now, on a hot day, it feels good, but it turns out like if you drink hot water in a hot day, it'll feel cooler outside because you'll be warmer than the environment.
I'm done. Mic drop, interview over. I am obsessed. Like, seriously, I don't know if you guys can just really tell. Dr. Dan, it is not just this, do this, you'll be fine in the morning. Like, Dr. Dan is a whole body, whole soul, whole mental man. He's really just curing and healing you as a whole. So that's why I love what you do, because it's more than just keeping you healthy. It's keeping you mind, body, and soul full. Right. And so any suggestions for the business owners for stress? Any suggestions on how to keep our stress low? Because that's another really big one for us. And it takes a lot of business owners out. And burnout is real. So since you are I just love all that you bring to the table. What is one suggestion you can give to us to help us with our stress levels?
Okay, I'll give you a mantra. And yeah, and it's 4 lines. And I think it's really helpful. I have another one too. I had 2 of them. I had to think about which one is better. But you asked me about stress. This is the one. Okay. So in Kung Fu, we use these expressions to remind the students how to behave and where they should be when they're training. So slow breath, calm heart. Calm heart, peaceful spirit. Peaceful spirit, happy human. Happy human, happy humanity. So for business owners, slow breath, calm heart, measure twice, cut once. Don't jump on impulse. Think about your actions and consider the longevity. What is the legacy on this? Calm heart, peaceful spirit. Consider what the next person is going to receive from what it is that you're going to be presenting with your business in your offering. What value are you bringing? How are you of service to them with your expertise? Peaceful spirit, happy human. Be content with what it is that you can do and dive deep, not wide. Wide roots get pulled up with the winds of change. Deep roots can handle the winds of change. And so the motif of deep roots, young trees with my company, that's what we talk about. And then happy human, happy humanity. When you're happy with yourself and you feel content, you treat others how you treat yourself. So you think about like, oh man, if I were going into this business, what would really like keep me coming back? Like, how do I like to be received? And how do I like to be brought through and journeyed through my experience in this business? And so, then you start looking at your global impact and your brand's identity based on what they provide, not on what they say.
Mm, that is so deep. Like that was so, I'm sitting here, I'm literally as you're saying it, I'm like thinking like, yeah, so the okay. Like for myself, I love that. And it did. You can tell my whole energy calmed down. My whole body was like, ooh. I absolutely love that, Dr. Dan. And so who is your ideal client? Who do you like to work with? Who can we send your way?
My ideal client is any person who is open and receptive to something new and is looking for a way to have support while overcoming their health and wellness challenges. So like I'm not looking for somebody who's coming in to nitpick on the details or tell me what they think is the best way to go about it. Because if that's the case, I have online resources for them to learn about. I'm happy to educate those. So those who want to be educated and want this particular style of health and wellness.
I love it. And this particular style of health and wellness is bigger than the pills that they give you coming out the doctor's office, baby. Okay. This is a full healing process. And I love how we went from learning about martial arts, learning about what you do, to understanding our food and how we're taking it in and how we are even talking to it before we receive it. Like that was woo. And then the CBD conversation. Oh my gosh. Like this has been nothing but phenomenal, Dr. Dan. And so just so y'all know, that's why I was looking forward to seeing you this weekend. But we got to link up. We got to set a date, time to connect. But with Dr. Dan, I'm also trying to do something with him where we're going to be doing parties at the house where you can learn all these things, and he's going to really be helping us instead of just going with what the doctors are telling us and the medicines and all the stuff, but learning a more holistic healing way to really just heal our bodies, our minds, bodies, and souls. Because as you can see, he's more than just the body, right, Dr. Dan?
That's right. And I also do second opinions. Like if you get a diagnosis and you're like, what? Send it my way. We can go over it. We can translate it into Chinese medicine and start looking at it from a more artistic point of view. We'll turn your health into an art project, and then it becomes fun.
That part. Did y'all hear that? Dr. Dan does second opinions. Y'all know that you didn't heard something from your doctor and it didn't feel right or sound right. Second opinions. Oh, wait. On that note, Dr. Dan, on that note, before we even like close this out, Dr. Dan also helps with I can never figure out which way my fingers are supposed to point. I gotta get my life. But Dr. Dan also helps. He helps out with PCOS, right, Dr. Dan? Remember we talked
Yes.
about that. Yes. And so to all my ladies out there with PCOS, I'm one of them. I got it too. Dr. Dan, I'm planning to ask him all the questions that I can. Maybe we could bring you back and ask you questions about it here too. But
Yeah.
I'm yeah, thank you. Thank you. You're the bomb. Because so many of us are diagnosed and then we're just left there with that diagnosis and we don't think that there's anything that we can do about it. And it couples with infertility and a whole bunch of other stuff. I used to get cysts the size of a baby's head wrapped around my ovaries. Like I used to get them bad. And so just having this conversation or having someone to go to and help you with the healing, I think is phenomenal. So reach out to Dr. Dan, y'all, man. He is the truth. If you didn't realize that today in this interview, I'll bring him back so y'all can realize it again. Okay. Straight up, Dr. Dan, I appreciate you in so many different ways. What is it that you want to leave us here with today? Let us know. What are your closing remarks, thoughts, or feelings?
I want to remind people that if you can smile, you can heal. If you can learn to take life a little bit less serious and be more serious about your own self-care, and things might be a little bit sweeter. So if you want an explanation on that, reach out to me. I'm happy to chat and I'm very conversational.
Yeah. So go to organic.com and link up with Dr. Dan. He is your Man, I got to tell you, Dr. Dan, this was absolutely, this was more than I even expected it to be. The mantra, like, I want to go back in slow motion that mamma jamma myself. So, uh, so I am just so grateful for you. I am thankful that you came on to have this conversation with me. You are a force to be reckoned with, my man. You are a force to be reckoned with. And I have no intentions but only to spread the word of you, let everybody know what you do so they too can heal not just the body, but their whole mind, body, and soul.
Absolutely.
I just adore you. Thank you so much for being here. Don't go nowhere. Okay. Give me 1 second. I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us here on WAP, Wealth, Assets, and Prosperity. You know, I have to slow it down just for you little nasties who are thinking something crazy. But I'm here for you. I'm here to help you get to the wealth, the assets, and prosperity, not only in your life, but in your business. And in this conversation with Dr. Dan, literally, I think my wig, I'm gonna have to go pick it up. It's back there somewhere. He done blew me off. It's off the head and on the flow. I'm so grateful for it. If you learn something amazing, or if you want to reach out to Dr. Dan, or can it, right? My fingers never do the right thing. Y'all see it. Or can it, reach out to him, set the consultation, get the second opinion. There is a healthy and beautiful way to heal, and it's not just through medicine. All right. So I love y'all, love y'all, love y'all. Thank you for joining me. This is Brownstone Worldwide Media, KCCR Radio. See you again next week, y'all. Bye-bye, boo.